Imagine a vast empty desert, the Karakum, a sea of sand stretching across the heart of Central Asia. Here, under a canopy of brilliant stars, the silence is profound. But in one particular spot, the silence is broken by a constant, roaring hiss. The ground itself is ablaze. A colossal crater, wider than a football pitch, burns with an unholy light, casting a flickering orange glow that can be seen for miles. This is the Darvaza Gas Crater, but it is known to the world by a much more dramatic name, the door to hell. It is a place that seems to defy nature, a wound in the Earth's crust that has been weeping fire for more than half a century. It looks like a scene from a forgotten myth. The sight is utterly mesmerizing. Thousands of individual flames lick the crater's edges, dancing and writhing like tormented spirits. The heat is immense, a physical force you can feel on your skin from a safe distance. At night, the spectacle is at its most powerful. The crater becomes a cauldron of liquid gold, illuminating the surrounding desert with an ethereal, almost supernatural radiance. For decades, this fiery chasm has been a source of endless fascination and speculation. The name itself, Door to Hell, speaks volumes about the awe and perhaps the fear it inspires. So, what exactly is this burning phenomenon? The Door to Hell is not a volcanic crater, nor is it a gateway to some mythological underworld. The reality is, in many ways, even more fascinating. It is a collapsed cavern, a sinkhole, sitting atop a colossal natural gas field, one of the largest in the world. The crater itself measures approximately 70 meters in diameter. The fire we see is not a single unified flame but countless individual fires. These are jets of methane gas, escaping from the earth and igniting as they mix with the oxygen in the air. The ground is literally leaking flammable gas. The gas that fuels these perpetual flames is methane, a potent greenhouse gas. It is colorless and odorless in its pure form. Its fame grew slowly at first, spread by word of mouth among locals and the occasional Soviet geologist. But with the dawn of the internet and satellite imagery, its legend exploded. It was nicknamed the Door to Hell, a name that stuck and cemented its place in popular culture. It transformed a remote industrial site into a place of pilgrimage for adventurers, photographers, and anyone with a taste for the extraordinary. The creation of the Door to Hell was not an act of nature but an accident of human endeavor. The story begins in 1971 when this region was part of the Soviet Union. Geologists, prospecting for oil and natural gas, set up a drilling rig right here in the heart of the Karakum Desert. They believed they had found a substantial oil field. The team began to drill, boring deep into the desert floor in search of black gold. They were correct that a vast energy reserve lay beneath them, but they had fundamentally misjudged the geology of the site. The ground beneath the heavy drilling rig was not solid rock. It was a fragile crust of earth covering a vast subterranean cavern filled with natural gas. With a great groan, the ground collapsed, swallowing the entire drilling rig. Fortunately, no lives were lost in the initial collapse, but the team was left with a massive problem. A huge crater had opened up, venting enormous quantities of poisonous methane gas into the atmosphere. Faced with a potential ecological disaster, the Soviet scientists had to make a quick decision. They reasoned that the safest way to deal with the leak was to burn the gas off, so they deliberately set it on fire. They believed the gas pocket was relatively small and that the fire would consume all the available fuel within a few weeks. But their calculations were spectacularly wrong. It has now been burning continuously for over 5 decades. The gas reserve they had tapped into was not a small pocket. It was part of one of the largest natural gas fields on the planet. The decision made in 1971 had inadvertently created a permanent inferno. One might assume that such a blistering, gas-spewing environment would be utterly devoid of life. A place named the Door to Hell does not sound particularly hospitable. For years it was believed that the intense heat and toxic fumes would make it a sterile zone. The common assumption was that nothing could possibly survive in or even near this infernal pit. It was seen as a dead zone, a scorched scar on the face of the desert. But nature, as it so often does, is full of surprises. In 2013, this assumption was put to the test. A Canadian explorer named George Karunis decided to do what no one had ever done before. He led an expedition, funded in part by National Geographic, to descend into the crater itself. Wearing a specialized heat-reflective suit and using a climbing harness made of Kevlar, he was lowered into the roaring heart of the inferno. His mission was to collect soil samples from the crater floor to see if any form of life could possibly exist in such a hostile place. The results were astonishing. Scientists discovered that the crater was not sterile at all. It was home to extremophilic bacteria, microorganisms that thrive in conditions that would be lethal to most other life forms on Earth. They were not just surviving, they were flourishing. It was a remarkable discovery, suggesting that life could exist in similarly harsh environments on other planets, like Mars. This discovery transformed our understanding of the door to hell. It was no longer just a geological oddity or a tourist attraction, it was a unique ecosystem. The crater became a natural laboratory for studying how life might begin and evolve in the most challenging conditions imaginable. For over half a century, the door to hell has exerted a powerful pull on the human imagination. For the small, semi-nomadic communities living in the vast expanse of the Karakum Desert, the crater became a familiar, almost mythical landmark. It was a constant presence on the horizon, a sun that never set. Shepherds would use its distant glow to navigate the featureless landscape at night. It became woven into the fabric of their lives. For the international community, particularly scientists and geologists, the crater was a subject of intense curiosity and study. It served as a dramatic, large-scale example of a continuous methane leak. The discovery of extremophilic bacteria within its depths opened up new avenues of research in the field of astrobiology. It became a case study in how life adapts to the most extreme conditions. The most visible impact, however, was on tourism. The door to hell became Turkmenistan's most famous, if unofficial, tourist attraction. Adventure travelers, photographers, and thrill-seekers from all corners of the globe were drawn to this remote corner of Central Asia. Tour companies began offering overnight trips, allowing visitors to camp near the crater's edge. The crater's fame was amplified by its presence in popular culture. It appeared in television documentaries, travel shows, and countless online articles and videos. This global exposure cemented its status as a legendary place. It became a symbol of the strange and wonderful things our planet has to offer, a reminder that there are still places in the world that can truly take your breath away. The door to hell was a paradox, an environmental disaster that had become a beloved natural wonder, a monument to a mistake that people traveled thousands of miles to admire. Its impact was complex, a blend of local legend, scientific discovery, and global fascination. For 50 years the fire burned. It seemed as though it would burn forever, an eternal flame in the desert. Then, in early 2022, the world was taken by surprise. Gurbanguly Berdimuhamedov, the then president of Turkmenistan, appeared on state television and made a stunning announcement. He declared that the door to hell must be extinguished. After decades of being a global curiosity and a national landmark, the government had decided that the fire's time was up. The timing of this decision after so long left many people wondering, why now? The president explicitly stated that the burning crater was having a negative impact on the health of the people living in the surrounding areas. Furthermore, the decision was framed as an economic one. The president pointed out that the country was losing a valuable natural resource. Every day, vast quantities of high-quality natural gas were simply going up in smoke. Turkmenistan's economy is heavily reliant on its gas exports, and in a world of fluctuating energy prices, the idea of such a valuable commodity being wasted was becoming increasingly untenable. The government saw an opportunity to turn a spectacular but wasteful fire into a profitable asset, harnessing the gas to benefit the national economy and fund public services. This presidential decree marked the beginning of the end for the door to hell as we know it. Beyond the concerns for public health and economic waste, there is a powerful environmental reason for extinguishing the door to hell. The primary gas fueling the fire is methane. And methane is a notoriously potent greenhouse gas. While burning it converts it to carbon dioxide and water, the sheer volume of gas being consumed over 50 years has resulted in the release of colossal amounts of CO2 into the atmosphere. Methane is over 80 times more potent at trapping heat than carbon dioxide over a 20-year period. The continuous burning of the Darvaza crater represents a significant localized contribution to global climate change. In an era where the world is struggling to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and meet climate targets, allowing such a massive and unnecessary fire to burn indefinitely is increasingly difficult to justify. By closing the crater, Turkmenistan can demonstrate its commitment to environmental responsibility on the world stage. Moreover, the fire has had a significant impact on the local desert ecosystem. the intense heat and light have altered the natural behavior of nocturnal desert animals in the vicinity. Extinguishing the fire and allowing the area to slowly return to its natural state would be a significant step in restoring the delicate balance of the Karakum Desert ecosystem. The process of closing the crater, however, is not simple. It requires advanced engineering and geological expertise. The goal is not just to put out the fire, but to cap the leak permanently. And so, the final chapter in the incredible story of the door to hell is being written. The international teams of engineers and scientists are expected to begin their complex work soon. They face the daunting task of taming a fire that has resisted all efforts for more than 50 years. Using advanced drilling techniques and geological modeling, they will attempt to plug the subterranean leaks and starve the fire of its fuel. Slowly but surely, the thousands of dancing flames will begin to flicker and die, until one day the great roar subsides and silence returns to this patch of the Karakum Desert. Once the fire is out and the gas leak is sealed, what will become of this place? It will never be the same again. The great orange glow that lit up the desert sky will be gone forever. The site will likely bear the scars of its fiery past for centuries to come, but it could also become a new kind of symbol, no longer a symbol of an ongoing disaster but one of successful environmental stewardship. It could become a place where people come to learn about the story, to see the place where the hellmouth once burned. The closure of the door to hell is a poignant moment. We are losing a unique and awe-inspiring spectacle, a place that captured the world's imagination. There is a sense of sadness in the passing of such a wonder, even one born of an accident. The photographs and videos will be all that remain of the burning crater, preserving its memory for future generations who will never get to feel its heat or hear its roar. It will pass from reality into legend, a modern myth of a fire that burned for half a century. Ultimately, the story of the door to hell is a powerful parable for our time. It is a story about our quest for energy, the unforeseen consequences of our actions, and our relationship with the planet we call home. It shows our capacity for error, but also our capacity for learning and correction. The decision to extinguish the flame is a sign of a maturing understanding of our responsibilities. We are choosing long-term health, economic sense, and environmental stability over a short-term spectacle. The door to hell is closing, and in doing so, it opens the door to a more thoughtful and sustainable future.